Pranam Partho.
Now.
Welcome back to the podcast series of Dialogues on Self-Inquiry. Partho, I have a somewhat a practical question for sincere seekers who are non-intellectual. They really want to seek the highest truth. I have a bunch of thoughts and questions, if I may allow me to phrase that. First of all, for these sincere seekers, what is the right way of seeking? A right way of
Right
being?
way of seeking.
Right way of being? What should they do? How should they seek? And what should they not do? That's equally important, I think, because there are many ways in today's world people can follow their own process, journey, seeking. How should a sincere seeker try to simplify the process as per your understanding and your thought process? And what should they try and do and not do? And one last important point, how important is it for such seekers to exist in the world and actually progress on their path for the collective humanity, evolution, so to say?
Oh, there's a lot of questions.
Yes, yeah.
So when you're saying seekers, you mean what path? What are they seeking?
So these are the seekers who've outlived the outwardly life, where they've been there, done that, and they realize that life has got to have bigger purpose, meaning, where this come to this realization that they have to go inwards, they have to try and realize their own highest truth, their own self, there are lots of words for this.
So I think study would be we're going by your description of a seeker, one who has had enough of
Yes.
the outer life. That's
Yes,
what you say.
yes,
And is now convinced that there's something more,
yes.
something higher or deeper. So yes, for a seeker like that, the first thing would be to get more clarity on what this higher thing is, and if I've experienced enough of this life, the outer life that you called, then what else is possible for human beings beyond this outer life, the outer normal material life, right? So I think the first thing would be to find more information. And how to find information, to start reading, to find the right kind of literature. There's enough very good literature on this, both traditional and modern. And then probably find someone who can help you understand what you're reading. With a lot of things that you read, you may not really know the subtleties involved in that kind of thing, or the nuances involved. So you tend to take it literally. So there might be someone who can help you figure it out for yourself. Guide, teacher. I think that's what one should be doing to begin with. And you asked, what should one not be doing?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. What should one not be doing? Not too happy in talking in terms of what you should not be doing, because
Okay.
if you use the word sincere seeker, so I'm going by that. So if we're talking about someone who sincerely wants to explore the next possibility of human life, who wants to explore the higher or deeper dimensions of being, then I wouldn't want to tell that person, this is what you should not do, this is what you should do. to find out what you should do and what you should not do is so much part of this journey itself. Anyone who wants to, you said, find the higher truth. That's a very important phrase, find the higher truth. So anyone who wants to sincerely find the higher truth will also necessarily find a lot of so-called lower, more relative truths, like what one should be doing and what one should not be doing.
Sure. If I can take this early, sincere seeker, exploring person to, if I may get more specific, let's say somebody who's been on the path for a while, possibly following Vedanta, and who has who's had the privilege of hearing from you and learning, understanding, and then internalizing, assimilating, distilling whatever comes from inside and outside, and has a fair understanding of where one's going, what needs to do, what needs to happen, and obviously it's a matter of time plus some practice and or the process. For somebody on such a path where one doesn't need to necessarily read books to know, as an example. So let's call it, I'm just using a phrase, I hope it's an acceptable one, a sincere advanced seeker, let's say.
A sincere and
Advanced seeker,
advanced.
let's say. In some, I don't know, we could use some other word also for this, if you have a better one.
Someone who's progressed a bit,
Yeah, who's progressed.
understood more.
Who's understood, yeah, got the basics figured out, of sorts. And mind is also reasonably evolved that the mind knows that now the mind has to quiet down for the, but one is still operating in the world, trying to sincerely balance the life and seeking in some sense. And while the mind fairly comprehends that mind has to quieten down for the person to progress further, but the mind is still involved in the day-to-day activity. What would be your suggestion for such seekers? How to progress, what to do, what not to do? If
So now you're talking about someone who's actively seeking the Vedantic truth.
yes.
And that changes a lot of things.
Yes.
So actively seeking the Vedantic truth is seeking the truth of what you are and what this world is and what's this world experience all about. So the first logical thing would be to start understanding yourself. We call it Atma-vichar in Sanskrit, self-inquiry. And it's a long drawn-out process. One starts with simple things like, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Where do my feelings come from? What's the validity of my feelings? What's the validity of my thinking and my knowledge? What's the validity of my beliefs? All that, very basic existential questions about oneself that we normally don't ask. So one starts with that, and like Sri Ramana used to, it's a mantric phrase, who am I? What am I all about? I want to seek the self. Who wants to seek the self? So things like that. I mean, that's basically what Atma-vichar is. And one just has to persist as sincerely as possible with that. Go as far and as deep as possible.
And in this process, mind is a friend and mind can be an enemy. Mind can make tricks into one believing into some story, some not necessarily correct.
So the first instruction a teacher, a guru will always give to the seeker is silence the mind. Begin with quietening the mind. In fact, you can't do Atma Vichar without quietening the mind. So basically, you just have to tell the mind to keep quiet, not to listen to the mind so much. Let thoughts come, and all kinds of thoughts will come and go. Don't pay too much of attention to the thoughts. Do pay attention to thoughts that need to be attended to in your practical day-to-day living. When these are the practical thoughts, we call them vyavharik. Vyavharik is relating to the practical world, transactional life. So thoughts related to your practical day-to-day living, attend to them. But that's all you need. You don't need to give more attention or significance to thoughts than that. Practical thoughts. This is to be done. How is it to be done most efficiently? Things related to your work, your profession and family life, your livelihood. Basic things like that.
One challenge that I face and I see many of us face in today's world is coming to the simple process of paying attention. Because in today's world, because of internet,
Too many distractions.
because of the internet, smartphones, multitasking at work, doing million things at a time. Paying attention is contrary to what we do all day long. We're constantly jumping from one thing to another or between one thing and another and flipping and all that. Firstly, do you see that as a problem in today's world in general? And
I don't see it as a problem for the genuine seeker.
Sure.
If you're a student of science and you love your science and you come across a problem in science, a conundrum which you need to figure out, so what do? You pay attention to that.
Yeah.
You sit with it, you think about it, you pay attention to it. And what happens as a consequence of that, paying attention to that problem in science? You
let go of everything else.
Yeah, you don't get distracted by other things. Your friends come and ask you to come, let's go play or watch TV. So don't, let me do this first. And it's so natural. You don't even think about it. I mean, if you really enjoy what you're doing and you really want to crack that problem, you do it. You just sit down and do it. If you are getting distracted by your friends who come and want you to play or watch TV or whatever, then doesn't it very simply mean that you're not really interested in the problem? I mean, you're just waiting for some excuse to go play. So then go play. So for me, it's not a problem. It's just, for a serious seeker, this is never an issue. If it is an issue with the seeker, he or she is not serious, and probably should go back and live the worldly life, and not bother too much about self-inquiry and Vedanta and stuff like that.
And for these sincere, progressive seekers, how important it is from a cosmic, universal, evolutionary standpoint for them to be open to receiving, for them to
Receiving what?
Whatever, when as you quieten the mind, you receive, you can be a higher version of your own self in progressing. I mean, how important it is for them to progress.
Again, I wouldn't, depending on where the sadhaka is, I wouldn't go too much into these details, because the basic thing is to first quieten the mind and bring a certain discipline to the mind and even the body, and learn the basic things of life and and spiritual seeking. Basic things like concentration, attentiveness, mindfulness, and more or less the same things. The ability to hold your attention for a period of time. It's not enough to pay attention while you're solving the problem, for instance, but developing the quality of attentiveness in your being, in your mind, that's more important. And looking deep and honestly at yourself to see what are the things that disturb you, what are the things that pull you down in consciousness, things that make you unhappy, things that make you suffer. These are things that need to be cleaned out of your system to begin with. And these are basics, absolute basics. And, people make a lot out of, being free from desire and suffering. But for me, those are the basics. If you truly want to progress towards self-realization, then freeing yourself from conflict, from unhappiness, from what the Buddha called the dukkha of all kinds, afflictions of all kinds, the absolute basics. And you got to do that. It's like if you want to figure out quantum physics, you have to first do your basic physics. Get hold of that and then get into it. So I personally feel, Kunal, that the life of self-inquiry in the true sense, Atma Vichara, the Vedantic kind, and concentrating on self-realization, it requires a mature mind, a ripe spirit, a mature mind, seriousness of intent. And without these things, there's no point in even embarking on this journey. So...
Sure.
You were talking about evolutionary impact, and that comes later. I mean, see, whichever human being, wherever, in whatever circumstance, turns to this, at least the seeking for a higher life, is going to benefit humanity. For me, that's a given. Anyone who turns towards spiritual seeking, who's moved by a spiritual seeking, is going to not only benefit himself or herself, it is going to benefit all humanity. And but then one shouldn't get too taken up by that, because that can also become a subtle ambition.
Yes.
So that happens on its own and at its own time, as your spirit ripens. These things come by itself. You begin to understand what difference you're making without getting egoistic about it. So that, again, question of maturity.
Sure.
And someone who really enters the search for the self is really not thinking about how he or she is going to benefit humanity.
Sure.
And that happens, great. But you're doing it for your own realization, your own freedom, your own enlightenment.
Sure.
Initially.
And then what follows?
Then you outgrow the self, the personal self thing altogether. What starts off as a personal journey of self-realization. I want to realize the self for myself. As you mature in spirit and mind, it disappears from your consciousness. Then you're doing it for the sake of the self in you. It's no longer for your personal self. It's no longer an ego-driven spiritual sense. And then it's a quest for the sake of the higher self. And then as you progress, you go deeper within, you begin to realize that the self that you're seeking, the higher self, is not yourself or myself. It's the cosmic self. It's the universal self. And if you're devoted your whole life towards that quest, then it's the human search in you. And that realization that will come, it will be for humanity itself. But much importantly, it will be for the self. It will be for the divine self.
Yeah. Now that we have done the cosmic orbit shift, may I switch gears and ask one more question, which is that Mother had stated that Mother had indicated that we have less time for the progressive advanced seekers. Let's say we have limited time to progress in this journey, to attain the higher self, to attain other things at play in this universe at this time. There was a time, mention of time. Could you shed some light on that? That in what sense is that time important, and what does it look like?
The mother had said a lot of things to a lot of different people in a lot of different
In some context, of course. Yes.
It's always in context.
Correct.
But if I have to generalize, one of the things Mother said, and not once repeatedly, is you have all the time in the world because you have eternity. So don't be in a rush. Don't be impatient. You have all eternity. But at the same time, you need the intensity. And that intensity is from, where you have only one day in life. You don't have time. So have that intensity that comes from, I have no time to waste. It has to be done now. Yet do it in a way with that attitude and inner poise where you know you have eternity.
Yeah.
So that's what she used to say to most people who would come to her. So it's not that we are eternal beings. And, one day you'll discover it, but we are. So there's no particular tearing hurry, and impatience, as the mother and Sri Aurobindo themselves used to say, is always of the ego. Haste and impatience is always of the ego, because the ego is in a rush. The spirit is never in a rush. It has all eternity. Yet at the same time, that doesn't mean you waste time.
Yes.
It doesn't mean, I have eternity to... That doesn't make sense. Again, it's a question of how mature you are as a seeker. A mature seeker will never waste time. And a mature seeker will also never rush. So it's all to do with maturity, with rightness of spirit. I remember Shakespeare's famous line, rightness is all. So yeah, rightness is all.
The way I'm understanding this is that, of course, keep sincerely seeking with intensity, do your best efforts, but don't worry about the outcome or the timeline as such. Just surrender to the process and it'll happen with divine space when it's meant to happen.
Yes.
But still, doesn't mean you sit idle. Don't let the tamasic forces take over and just relax.
Precisely. But there's a lot of careful work to be done on one's own nature. Self-realization is one thing. That's one dimension, to realize the highest self, the divine self. But you can't just realize the divine self. You have to prepare your whole being for that realization. And what we do with that realization, it has to be assimilated in your mind, your prana, your life, even your body, the way you live your daily life. So that needs a lot of work, because human nature is not that easy to rework. And that's what we're really doing. As you grow more towards self-realization, you also become much more aware of the work that needs to be done in your own prakriti. And the two have to go together. And I don't believe in the Vedanta that says that prakriti is not important. Throw it away and just go for the self. And that self you already are. And very soon in your journey toward the self, you realize that you are that self. And so what's the big deal after that? The big deal is that self has to be realized in this reality, in the here and now, in what you're living. And not just what you are living as Kunal, or what we are living collectively as a species, as a society. And well, that work has to be done.
Sure. That's helpful, Partho. I think that's all I had for this discussion. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.